Hello, everyone. My name is Kayla, and today is the first episode of the Reading Alcove. Yay! Yay! Say hi! This is Mashed Potato, one of my little kitty cats. She just wanted to say hi. So let's go ahead and get started with this episode of the Reading Alcove. But first, I'm going to start with an introduction. So, welcome to the Reading Alcove. My name is Kayla, and I am the bookish witch of the Alcove. I'm a 34-year-old March Aries. I am a cat mom to three little kittens, which are Cake, Banana, and Mashed Potato, which you saw Mashed Potato in just a moment ago. Cake is my black and white tuxedo kitty, and Banana is my orange and white tabby cat. And of course, Mashed Potato is my brown tabby cat. I love to read and have been collecting books for as long as I can remember. I also enjoy watching anime, playing video games, and practicing Wicca witchcraft. I also enjoy doing puzzles on my free time. But for this podcast, it is all about reading and enjoyment of books. I have been reading for as long as I can remember. My mom and my grandmother were my biggest inspirations to reading. So I kind of wanted to give my passion of reading to my viewers. So, for this episode, we are going to be talking about manga. Manga has been one of the biggest things that I have been collecting for years now. I have been collecting manga for about 18 years, since 2007. So, right now, at the moment, I have about 10,031, no, sorry, 1,034 manga books that I've collected since 2007. So let's get into this first episode. So, what is manga? Manga are Japanese comic books and graphic novels that feature a distinctive art style that are read from right to left and are printed in black and white. There are some manga that do print in color, but it's very rare. Those are kind of more of like spin-off-ish kind of mangas. There are colored ones that aren't Japanese manga. They're Korean manhwa. Those are their types of comic books and graphic novels. And then manhwa, which is the Chinese version. So most manga are printed in black and white because it is easier for the art mangakas to produce when they are making their stories. Doesn't and it costs a lot less to print in black and white rather than in color. As I was saying, manga is easier to produce in mass quantities in black and white rather than in color. Most of manga will have some color illustrations if they are kind of like a collector's edition, stuff like that. So that's something to look out for when you're looking at manga, but traditionally it is in black and white. So something to look into. So when you think about manga, you kind of have the question like, how long has manga been, in the world? When did it start? So, I mean, from research, it mostly came into popularization not that long ago, honestly. So, the word manga comes from the kanji man, which means impromptu or whimsical, and then ga, kanji for ga, which means pictures. So, basically impromptu pictures or whimsical pictures. The word came into use during the late 18th century and early 19th century with publications of older picture books and sketchbooks from the 1700s up to the early 1900s. But it became more explosive into media after World War II, because during World War II, a lot of artists were basically authorized to produce propaganda for World War II against the Allies and everything. So once World War II ended, creators like Osamu Tezuka, sorry, and Machiko Hasegawa started creating their own stories called manga. So Tezuka-san created Astro Boy, and Hasegawa-san created Saze-san. Sorry, it's hard to read in small print. But those two have become the kind of the founders of manga today. So between the 1950s and 1968, manga had continued to grow its relationship with the readers and readerships between shonen, which is marketed to boys, and shoujo, marketed to girls. So they were more as comic books or graphic novels aimed mostly towards younger audiences like children, because that's what they were kind of going for during that time. By the 21st century, manga has reached worldwide popularity within readers of all ages. So now in 2025, they have different types of manga for basically from as young as young children, ages like 5 to 7, to adults, which is 18 plus. So now it's a lot, there's kind of a controversy of where some people believe, well, oh, manga is like comic books, it is pretty much geared towards children and it's childish. It really isn't. Depending on what you read, which we'll talk more about in just a little bit, can have more themes that are geared towards an older audience. So let's talk about manga genres. So, as you can see in this slide, if you are watching this podcast, if you're not, I can tell you in this slide, I have a picture of two popular manga magazines that were pretty popular in the United States back in the late 90s, early 2000s. One of them, I think, kind of still, they can still continue still printing, I think here in America, but mostly in Japan. So there is Shonen Jump, and then there's Shoujo Beat. Shonen Jump still produces a lot of manga magazines in Japan, and it's become collector items. So when you're looking for manga, like the type of manga that you want to look into, you want to find something that really piques your interest and what is interesting to you and follows your type of reading style. So when you are looking for it, again, it's all about your preference. So when you're looking into manga, there are different genres. So the kind of the main four that are pretty much well known in the community are shonen manga. They're targeted to tween and teenage boys. They sponsor themes of adventure, action, coming of age, and friendship. Then there is seinen, which is manga targeted for older men, which is 18 plus. Sponsors mature themes such as violence, action, sex, language, and other adult themes. So those two are mainly geared towards the male audience. So the other two genres are geared towards the female audiences. So there are shoujo manga, which are targeted towards tween and teen girls. They sponsor themes of drama, romance, coming of age, anything more so like school related kind of themes of young teenage girls. And then josei, which is geared towards more adult women, 18 plus, they sponsor themes of drama, romance, and also sex. So those are the types of manga that talk more about, and language as well, that talk more about adult themes. So that's geared towards more of the older women demographic. So, but that doesn't mean that because those are the two, it's, male or female, it's not, well, if you're a girl, you have to read shoujo or josei, or if you're a boy, you have to read shonen or seinen. No, anybody can read anything. As a manga reader myself, I do read a lot of shoujo and josei, more on the romance stuff, but I also do enjoy some of my shonen action types. So it just really depends on your preference. You just go with what you like. If the story's great, the artwork is amazing, the characters are so relatable, that's where you want to enjoy it the most. So it doesn't really matter what you read, it's how you enjoy it. So there are other types of genres and like themes that you can look for into mangas. There are konomamake, which is manga towards younger children. Those are kind of manga that are just of all ages, that have more of a lighthearted theme of like friendship and just overall fun. So it depends on what you're looking for. I think like easy I like kind of themes or titles that you can think of when you're thinking of young children is like Pokemon or that's another good one. Mostly Pokemon is the one I can come up with when it comes to young children and all that kind of stuff. So there's a few others that I can think of. I think Yotsuba and is another one that's in all ages. Children can read. It's very sweet. And there's another one that I will be recommending in another slide. So we also have science fiction, we have historical fiction, we have comedy, we have slice of life. That one is pretty much manga based on just life in general. Manga that I can think of that's kind of slice of life is Azumanga Daioh. It's a 4-panel manga that kind of follows the life of the schoolgirls characters of the book. So it's just like random stuff about life and what they go through in their school days. So those are really fun to kind of read when you're just looking for something light and easy. And then sports, there's plenty of sports manga. There's Prince of Tennis. There's Whistle. There is Crimson Hero. That one's about volleyball. There's a basketball manga. There's badminton. There's so many different types of manga for sports. It is crazy to think about how many there are. I would think not a lot, but no, there's plenty out there. And then we can talk about isekai, which is basically being transferred to another world kind of storyline. There's also LGBTQ plus themes of manga. There are some that are for asexuals. There's boys love, which is called yaoi, and then there's girls love, which is called yuri. So, boy boy relationships, girl girl relationships. There are polyamory relationships. There's a few of that. And then, of course, there are just other types of manga that talk about um, those types of things as well. There's historical romance. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different genres, but these are a few that I have noticed that I kind of see in my collection and also what I see when I go to the bookstores when I go shopping. So in this slide, this is my recommendations to kind of start with for manga readers. It's all up to you. Honestly, there also have been debates about whether or not if this manga is the best one to start with, or this one's the best to start with. It's all about what you're looking for, what you find interesting to yourself. But these are kind of some of the few that I've read when I first started, and also, some of my older ones that I started with, and then some of the ones that I think most readers would like to kind of start with, just to kind of dip their feet into it. So in the far left corner on the top, that's Chobits. That was the first manga that I read when I started reading. It's a science fiction based story with a romance to it. It's really cute. It has some themes of kind of like angsty, has a little bit of angst in it, but it's a really cute read. It's a little bit for older teens, so probably about 13 plus, because there is some scenes where there are kind of a little bit of nudity just because of the character, but it's a really good story. Then next to that, I have Full Metal Alchemist. That was one of my first shonen that I read. This one is actually created, both Chobits and Full Metal Alchemist are created by women mangaka. Hiroma Arakawa is a great storyteller. Full Metal Alchemist follows two brothers who are trying to get their bodies back after they had tried to bring their mother back from the dead. It's a great story. Artwork's amazing. Overall, one of my favorites. Then the one next to that is called A Man and His Cat. This is kind of a story that follows an older man who had lost his wife. He adopted the cat named Fukumaru, and it's just kind of their life as owner and pet. It's really sweet. I found it on TikTok about a year and a half to 2 years ago, and I fell in love with the storyline. So really good kind of manga that will just give you that really good feeling and honestly kind of make you cry a little bit. So next to that one, I have Kazehikaru. This is a historical romance fiction story based on the Shinsengumi, which were an actual real group during the Meiji era war. It follows Soji Akita and the young female protagonist. She joins the Shinsengumi to find, I think it was to find her brother, or I think it was to either find her brother or to revenge her family during that time. And basically they know, so the male main character knows that the main female character is a woman, but she doesn't know he knows. So it's really good if you want to do something that's a little historical romance, kind of getting facts about the Shinsengumi in that time era. I love it. It's a great series. And then next to that is a classic, which is Sailor Moon. This is Sailor Moon was my first anime that I watched as a kid, and the manga is great. It's a classic. Definitely recommend reading that. And then on the bottom, underneath Chobits is Spy Family. That's one of the newer ones that has come out. It is a comedy action. It's not a shonen. I don't know where. I guess it would be considered a shonen. Basically follows a spy who is trying to save the world, who adopts a young girl who is a telepath, and he is married to a woman who is an assassin, and they all don't know what they are except for the telepath, the little girl. She knows that the man is a spy and the woman is a assassin, and it just follows their crazy adventures. The anime is great too. Definitely recommend that. And the next to Spy Family is called Way of the House Husband. This is another kind of slice of life anime about a house husband who used to be a gangster, quit being a gangster once he got married, started basically taking care of the household while his wife works. And it's great. I love it. And the one in the middle, above my head, is called Black Cat. That is another manga series that I started. That is a shonen. Follows the story of Train Hartnett, who used to be a assassin for hire with an organization called Kronos, and he is now considered a sweeper, which are basically people who they don't kill, but they're like bounty hunters. So they, hunt people to collect the bounty and stuff like that. So another great read to get into. Next to that is Hanakimi. This is a high school romance shoujo type of manga. Follows a girl who joins an all-boys school to follow the one of the male protagonists, who is a track runner. So she's there to help encourage him to start running track again and everything. I think it was the long jump. So that's a really good series. I highly recommend that. And then after that is Naruto, another shonen manga. This is another classic, one of the considered big three. Follows a young boy, Naruto Uzumaki, who is wanting to basically be accepted by his village and become the next Hokage. So those are kind of some of my recommendations for starters. I will say Naruto is a very long series. Chobits is about 8 volumes. Full Metal is about 27, 28. Hanakimi is about 22. Kazehikaru is, I think, about close to 30. I'm not sure. Sailor Moon is about 20. Man and His Cat right now is about at 12, 13. Way of the Husband has gone up to 14. And then Spy Family is up to probably 14 right now. So some of them are ongoing and then others have finished. So it just depends. There are many manga that are just one-offs, and then there are others that are longer, like One Piece. So where to buy your manga? Well, you can always buy at local retailers such as Barnes & Noble. You can also buy them off of Amazon, Books A Million, thriftbooks.com, local used bookstores, crunchyroll.com, and anime stores. These are the 3 that I have been to. So in the picture, it's Animes. There's 2 locations. There's one on Glenwood Avenue in Raleigh. There is one at the Triangle Town Center Mall. They just recently opened that up. And they don't only sell manga. They sell a lot of anime paraphernalia, K-pop, Chinese drama, everything. Anything you can think of that's nerdy, they have it. And then Anime Paradise too, which that is in Raleigh. It's in the Glenwood area. They also sell manga and other merchandise as well. So I've listed their locations that you can visit. I like to support as many small businesses as I can. So Animes is really good. Anime Paradise is pretty good. I also like to go to local books, used bookstores, but I do have some tips about that too, which I will go over in just a moment. But yep, those are pretty much places you can go to that kind of give you an idea of where you can buy your manga from. So how do I keep track of it? You can keep track of it however you want. Doesn't have to be like set in stone. You can write it out if you want to. I preferably either use Google Sheets or Excel to keep track of my collection, and I actually post a little picture of mine. I kind of keep track of the title, who has written it, who the author is, who the artist is, because most manga are created by one mangaka, but there are kind of some stories that have like someone who actually just writes the story and then the artist or multiple artists. It just depends. I also kind of keep what the publishers are, so I kind of have an idea of who is the main publisher for it, their age range, so it goes from all ages to mature, their pricing, how many volumes I have, how many volumes I need to complete a collection, have I read it, have I completed it, like it's just, that's how I can keep track. So whenever I go shopping, I can just easily pull it up on my phone and see what volume I'm up to in my collection, so I don't buy multiples of the same one. So, and then my final tips and takeaways for collecting manga. Again, pick out manga that catches your attention. This is your collection. You don't have to do it for anybody else but yourself. This should be based on your interest in what makes you happy and what you want to collect. When buying manga at used bookstores, I recommend do not pay over the marked price of the book. It is not worth spending more money on a used book if it is still in publication. Great example is Demon Slayer. I went to a used bookstore, and as I looked at it, it had one price that was marked, but then they marked it at least $1 to $2 more. It's not worth spending more money for a manga if it is still in publication and you can get it at your local bookstores to pay more money for that. It's not illegal for them to do that. They can do as what they want because it's just a suggestion. But if they have a contract with a publisher and that's what they tell them to sell it for, then that's what they do. But used bookstores can sell it for whatever price they want to. I just don't recommend paying more than what it is. If it is from a private seller that is selling a book that is especially is out of print, then I understand, they're going by what the value is of the book, because it is harder to find a book series that is out of print unless they are going to be republishing it with a new publisher. That is your choice. I still wouldn't do it. I can't think of spending hundreds of dollars for one manga just to complete my collection. If it comes to it, I'll just read it online. That's it. Another tip is support your local bookstores that sell manga. They work very hard to get their rights to be able to sell all the products that they have. And I think it is a great way to not only kind of support that business, but also get to know the community as well. So definitely support local anime shops around your area if you can. If you can't, that's okay. Do what you got to do. But again, it's up to you. And of course, always have fun while doing it. It is a very big passion of mine that I still do. I have been doing for so long that I continue to buy more books and I hoard them. So I've been trying to do more of my reading. So just don't overdo it like me. Just, do what you can, enjoy it. And if it's a series you want to keep going and collecting, great, do it. If not, that's okay. Give it to someone who might want to read it. Just spread it around if you can. So I have listed all my sources where I got my information, and you can always Google the history of manga. There are great articles about it, so I definitely recommend reading into that. And I want to say thank you so much for joining me in this episode of the Reading Alcove. I really appreciate it. Little Keiki wants to say thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Have a great day.